Today, we will talk about one of the most dangerous exercises that exist. Many people do it without even realizing the danger they are putting themselves in. This exercise at first glance seems harmless, but at any moment during its execution, irreversible consequences can occur. So let's talk about the plank today. Let's go! Indeed, very often you can hear that almost at every step this exercise is offered as a panacea for almost all diseases. No matter which fitness, yoga, or any kind of sports instructor you would turn to for this exercise.
If you've asked everywhere, the answer is always the same.
You need to do the plank. You need to do it daily and as much as possible, as often as possible. Then you will be able to improve your health condition. Almost all diseases are recommended today by sports medicine doctors, ENT doctors, gynecologists, and practically doctors of any specialties, including proctologists and urologists. They recommend doing the plank. But is it really safe? We're about to find out. With all the spine disease, Professor Sergei Bubnovsky debunks this myth from the perspective of an experienced kinesiotherapist. Because, of course, with the development of the internet, with all these modern trends, the internet, hardly anyone reads books anymore. But all of this is written in books. Because the professor, he described all of this in books a long time ago, but you haven't read them. That's why you're about to find out how things really are. You're prone to myths, got it? They need to be debunked. So what? And so, says the professor, listen. Myth catcher. Plank is an exercise for the lazy. Yes, anyone can do it, even a very unprepared person. I suggest something else. How many tests? Yes, any lazy and unprepared person can do the plank. Remember this. Any lazy and even unprepared person can do the plank. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or 2 minutes of planking. It doesn't matter. What matters is that this simple exercise can be done by anyone. Suspected clots in anyone. Yes. Vessel spasm. Yes, his breath holding increases his stroke risk. He could have a thrombus detachment. He could have a back muscle spasm. Paramedics will have to pick him up off the floor later. Any athlete can demonstrate a plank. That's how it is, friends. It seems like a simple, ordinary exercise. But let's say we take the summaries of people who end up in the hospital, and indeed, let's say, for yesterday's date, and we will see that there is an exacerbation of chronic pancreatitis. Several people had a thrombus detached. Appendicitis. They were urgently hospitalized. And all these cases just happened against the backdrop of a person simply deciding to do a plank. He watched some video on the internet and decided that he needed to do a plank, no matter what it takes. And here's the result. He had a thrombus detachment. Well, because he was unprepared and lazy. And if it's an athlete who knows how to control his own muscles, because if it's an athlete who doesn't know how to control his own muscles, for example, from sports, where muscle control is not required, then of course he can injure himself in the same way. With us, it carries, in fact, the health-improving component of physical exercise, contraction, and relaxation, that is, hemodynamics. Muscle contraction and relaxation must be in any health-improving exercise, in which, of course, there is no plan. But the duty of any health-improving exercise is to include hemodynamics and the tension and relaxation of muscles sequentially. If not, the exercise can't be deemed as health-improving. Do you understand? Why is that so? Well, because it's all based on experience. You should understand. It's not just like that. What if, well, it's not just something Dr. Bubnovsky pulled out of thin air. It's all based on experience, based on many years of practice. You know, there are such isometric exercises, exercises with breath holding, performed strength exercises. They are performed by prepared people with many years of training. 6 seconds, no more. Everything else is safe for health. For health. Indeed, there are athletes who undergo years of training to do the plank exercise. I've met such people. That is, in addition to training several times a day, they also, besides regular training, they also conduct training camps for additional practice. They do planks, regular planks from the knees, side planks. They hold their breath there, of course, first for 3 seconds, then a little longer, a little longer. 2 fools increase to 6, but not beyond, because 6 seconds is the time when the clot has not yet had time to break off. That is, it is already almost breaking off. It's already hanging by a thread. Just a little. Just a little. But once the breathing was resumed after 6 seconds, and normally it stuck to the vessel wall again. So even with years of training by these athletes who have been preparing their whole lives to do planks, even they, of course, shouldn't do it. They expose themselves to enormous risk with the brain vessel and for the body as a whole. Therefore, the plank does not develop this world, but it can create conditions. The act leading to a person's first hospitalization. Yes, during a competition, during some kind of party, wedding, birthday, when people, having drunk, love to show themselves physically strong and alive. But this is a common occurrence. The plank is a favorite exercise of alcoholics, a common occurrence. I used to live near the station on Peace Avenue when I was a student. And we had a neighborhood there, rich with alcoholics, people who loved to have a good active rest, drinkers. And very often you could see, for example, they not only drink, for example, a bottle and a half of some fat guy's booze or strong hunting, but also compete. They do planks. They did many interesting things. That is, they did it both for time, and from their knees, and with straight arms, and there one leg is thrown somewhere. It's fascinating. You go and they're just lined up doing the exercise. Well, that's really the case.
That is, I just hadn't thought about it before, but indeed, the plank is the favorite exercise of alcoholics.
And of course, that case, everyone remembers, of course, that notorious case last spring. When in Murmansk at a wedding, the groom also kind of drank and, trying to show his bravery, did a plank. And accordingly, everything happened at once. Ambulance, paramedics, the man lost consciousness. Despite being a kettlebell lifting master at an international level, the sport involves a unique tension and muscle contraction. It's about hemodynamics. The plank is the riskiest exercise, get it? But if you're sober, do it. If you've kind of got your blood pumping a bit, you're in a state of not strong alcohol intoxication, but a light, well, small one. When you're just a bit relaxed and your mood has improved, then you, in principle, well, can already do the plank. Almost at the lowest. Just minutes, I believe. When they do this plank, well, what kind of emergency help is here? If you want to learn to do a plank that is beneficial for health, I recommend you master another exercise, but also consistent. But there is an alternative. One of the most effective exercises which is also beneficial. It's a Soviet drill, a Soviet roller, which includes planking, contraction, and relaxation. Relaxation, contraction, repeat. Worked. Take a rest. A simple roller that you can buy in any sports store. But I repeat, you need to approach this exercise gradually. And, friends, don't forget that the plank is an exercise. It came to us from yoga. And yoga is an Eastern direction. It originated in India. And everything there is designed for the Indian body. But our Russian Slavic body, it's not adapted to such loads. This needs to be understood. Therefore, this domestic, Soviet developed by Soviet physical education workers, this roller, it replaces almost all exercises, including the plank and any others. But there is one more limitation. Performing this exercise with the roller, of course, it is recommended in a certain form. It should be white. Well, it can be a little bit yellowish. Tank top. It can be stretched out, and it should be a jersey. The jersey should be loose, with hanging knees and straps right here on the leg, so that the exercise is performed easily, so that you do it enjoying it, so that the breeze from all sides cools you down and does not hinder muscle work, does not hinder hemodynamics. So, let's see how the maestro performs. Well, be careful doing it. Kneel down. Kneel down. Settle in, but don't tear it. Don't tear. And it's perfectly executed when you stretch to the fullest. Here's a plank for you, but this is much safer than a plank. Well, about 320%. But pay attention in this exercise and the stretching of the spine. But this is the best exercise. Out of what I haven't seen a better exercise. When I saw this exercise, I realized there's no need to do other exercises, especially since Ha allows to relieve pressure. Intra-abdominal, intrathoracic, intracranial pressure. Everything is relieved by Ha. Friends, every time you feel the urge to do a plank, you bend your arms and lie down on the floor. Remember that you have family and loved ones. Stop in time. Buy this roller today and start doing the right exercises. And we were with you, me and Professor Bubnovsky, until we meet again. I'll leave you alone with the maestro. But you could watch this forever. Ah, and by the way, some of the safest exercises from the professor. Take a look.
Next.
Ha allows to shoot. Subtitle editor Tatiana Gorilova, corrector Anastasia Igorova, to be continued.